Hey everybody, today on our school bus Fern here, we're going to install an awning from Carefree called the Freedom Wall Mount, and we're going to film it, show you the process, and we'll see how it goes here. What I've done in advance to set up is taped out where my brackets are going to go, so you can see the blue tape outlines. I've got my holes marked, and I'm going to start drilling holes and prepping the surface here and show you how it goes. Okay, I've got the holes drilled for all my brackets up there. Now the next thing I want to do is prep that paint surface so that it takes my adhesive sealant really nicely. So I'm just taking a little piece of Scotch-Brite pad and I'm just going to scuff the surface there inside of where my tape lines are. Okay, I've got my paint scuffed and we're about ready to bed these brackets down in sealant. Just going to do a quick wipe with some acetone and we'll be ready. Okay, we're all prepped and ready to seat these brackets and through bolt them. Got my holes drilled, got the paint prepped. So now I've got my bracket in hand and a high quality sealant adhesive. So I'm just gonna apply this to the back of my aluminum bracket, making sure to fully encircle all the holes and just apply it liberally, and know it's gonna squeeze out of the sides, but that's part of the reason why I have my tape lines here, so I'll be able to clean it up after the fact. And one more thing I'm going to do at this stage is apply some Loctite to my bolts. That'll just help ensure that as we rattle down the road, these bolts aren't ever going to unthread. This is the red Loctite, meaning it's extra strong, and since I don't plan to be taking this thing on and off, I opted for the extra strong Loctite. Alright, here goes. And I'm just going to add a clamp to this, so when I tighten the bolts on the inside, it stays exactly where I want it to. Alright, so that's where I want it. Now I'm going to head inside and tighten up the nuts. Alright, here we are inside the bus. You can see my carriage bolts coming through the shell there. Just for a little extra measure, I'm going to put a small bead of this on my fender washers here. Alright, and now I'm just adding a split lock washer and a nut to each of those bolts. My Loctite is still hanging on those threads, so that's nice. These bolts are much longer than what I need in my application, but they're going to be hidden anyway, so no reason to swap them out or cut them. But basically I'm going to repeat this process 4 times for each of the brackets. And I'm actually just going to add an extra nut on each of these just for additional reinforcement. And once I do that, that bracket should not be going anywhere. Hey, so as you can see, I've got 4 mounting brackets installed here. I just repeated that first process that I showed you 4 times. And then to finish each one off, I just like to do a bead of sealant around the edge. I've got these clamped, as you can see, just to put a little pressure on the bottom while the adhesive cures. Just a quick bead around the edge and wipe it with my finger. And then peel the tape, and we'll just let that sealant dry for a little while, and then we will fit the awning on the bus.
Alright, so we gotta line it up where it was, where we dry fitted it.
Is unmounted.
Woohoo! It was one. I just left that one.
We've got our hole drilled for our wire, and I'm just going to feed some heat shrink tube over the top of these wires before I put them through the body of the bus, just because that's a potential wear point where it's going to go through the sheet metal, and I just want to reinforce that, make sure we never get any chafed wires. So I'm just going to feed them in now. And I'll install a little clamshell over the top of this hole to waterproof it. All right, and right before I push the final bit of wiring through, I'm gonna shrink this tubing so that the actual part going through the sheet metal is reinforced. Okay, I've got one heated up. I'm just going to slightly overlap the second one. Heat that. And now I'm going to go ahead and feed the rest of my wiring through. And again, that just adds a little extra reinforcement for the potential wear point there. And then I'm going to have a nice little clamshell over here, and I'll put some sealant in that, and it'll be waterproof. And we have electric. This is where we decided to put our switches. The company recommends, and it makes sense, that you would put the switches where you can have a visual of the awning as you're extending and retracting it. So this spot makes sense for us, and I'm just going to cut the holes in the wood here to make room for them.
Possibility with partial to the left. Restrictions apply.